Good evening. Welcome to the North Andover Special Education Parent Advisory Council meeting. Today is Tuesday, November 12th. It is now 7:07 p.m. Apologies for the late start. I will now call this meeting to order. Do we have any public comment before we begin? Hearing none, I wanted to introduce and give Lynn O'Neill, the Interim Director of Special Education for the town of North Andover, the opportunity to just briefly speak with us and let us know if there's anything new or any happenings going on that we need to touch base on.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. And there are so many things happening. I can't even begin to talk about where to start. So I think that just in general, as this time of the year, we have created sort of a leaderboard after parent conferences. We have a slew of initial referrals as a result of parent conferences. This is not new, but there are quite a few this year, which is new for me as being part of a district. I haven't had this many in other districts. So it's a good data point, something to think about, something to maybe do some education around prior to parent conferences. So it's good to have that information. All information is good information. We are currently working on special education and general education together. We're working on where are some entry points around our reading instruction, and making sure we have really good definitions about tier 2 reading support, and then where does it move from there? What does that look like? Making sure that families really understand what that looks like. And this is a really an interesting challenge. And so it's something that's been, really, I know I'm going to say interesting again, but it is interesting to sort of be part of this, developing sort of a process, a model, an informative FAQ sheet. I'm not really sure what it's going to look like, but really engaging and having those conversations. So that is really good news.
Lynn, really quick, would you mind just maybe defining quickly when you say tier 2, what you mean?
Sure. So tier 1 is when is general education. All students get tier 1. Then with the new reading, sort of the science of reading, and this, I am always transparent that I hold a meeting with all school psychologists and I tell them I'm the only one who's not a school psychologist in the room. The same with BCBAs or whatever. So I'm not a reading person by design. If I make a mistake in some of my vocabulary, it's an honest mistake. With the science of reading and sort of the adoption of wit and wisdom, in my meetings with Kristen Ando, we are talking about tier 1 general education, another little sub tier 1, which is new for me. Tier 1 supported. What does that look like in the classroom? Then tier 2 is normally, and each district sort of defines tier 2, like what that looks like a little bit differently. It's sort of an individualized piece per district. But ultimately, tier 2 is when more supports are needed in some fashion. That could be push into the classroom. It could be sort of methodology differences within the classroom, more small group, more center-based, more, some reteaching with extra personnel. It could be some pull out by a reading specialist or other support personnel. But it is not special education. It is extra in addition. And I'm sorry, I have my dogs are surrounding me. So if you are hearing them, I apologize. So it's extra. It's a little extra around sort of the environment, the methodology, the personnel. And then beyond that, we go to tier 3. And tier 3 can be when we move into special education. But some districts don't always call it, it's not an automatic special education, but that's when it's even more support is needed around the acquisition of literacy and or other academic skills. Rachel, I'm going to look to you. I don't know, are any of any other
I think
members
I
also
appreciate
teachers?
I think Zora and I, we speak this language a lot professionally and in our other worlds. And I think what you're saying and what everybody is seeking is exactly what you're trying to move the district towards, right? Clearly defined, parent friendly understanding of if my child needs something, what is it, who's giving it, and why are they getting it?
And why is that the recommendation of the professional staff? So I think that is really, so in addition to working around like being, having those clearly defined sort of categories, I also really, it's really important to me that our teachers feel like or feel valued, to have the confidence to recommend what they think professionally students need. And I know that out of the program review, there were some themes that teachers felt as though they couldn't speak in a free manner. But that also, it works when they are trying to speak to families and not meaning around like what they truly feel like a student needs, and defending that recommendation, not because we have to be oppositional or antagonistic or defensive, but here's the information I have that I'm using to make that decision. And I've been thoughtful and strategic, and I've given it time, and I've taken the data, and with my experience and with my knowledge and my skill, or our experience, knowledge, and skill, because usually it's more than just one teacher, you looking at this information, this is the next step. And I really am hoping we get to a place where everybody feels confident that that recommendation is solid, and that that people have confidence in that recommendation.
Yeah, I think Zora, I don't want to speak for you, but I think that's what we're seeking too. And I think as an interim director, God love you for even hoisting this mast here for us. We appreciate it. And I think, as somebody, I actually spoke to probably about a dozen parents around conference time that sought us out. And I followed up with them. There was a lot of planning going into conferences. There was a lot of, sharing data, parents that were seeking the next steps out of concern. And I think to double back to what you said first about regular education teachers not being sure or feeling silenced, I think you're still going to have that right now, because what I got a lot of on the other end after conferences was, well, the teacher basically told me, wink, wink, I should write an email.
So that,
as an educator and as a parent, I'm like, yeah, after seeing the audit and the review, I'm not
surprised. Here's the thing that I'm going to say,
yeah.
and I am, first and foremost, as I was thinking about this meeting, and again, I am interim, but I can't help myself. I get fired up, and today I got fired up about something, and I just said to everybody, I'm like, nope, this is worth it to me. And if people don't want me to come back after Thanksgiving, that is fine. But my piece is that I want teachers to feel supported. I want teachers to feel valued, because I don't think there's enough of that right now. And this work is really hard.
Yeah.
But it is not okay to say to a parent, wink, wink, I think you should ask for an evaluation, if those teachers have not also surfaced their concern internally
in the right manner. Totally.
And gone to, I don't even know what it's called here. I think SAT in North Andover.
Well, that's the problem, is it's unclear. And just so you know, and for the rest of the board and everybody watching, there is no clear child study referral process. Let's be real, right? That's
I don't know that. I
that's not
can't say that,
consistent
though.
across the district.
I
No.
don't want to say that without me, like, to be honest, I didn't prepare to talk about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah,
so-
yeah, we're
Sorry.
But I don't want to say
you know,
there's
the
not.
intent was not to ambush you,
Yeah,
Lynn, at
yeah.
all.
No, and I'm fine. This is
And one
this
thing just kind of
conversation I
ties to
actually
another.
I love this type of conversation, but I just don't want. I don't want there to be a record of me agreeing to
No,
something
no.
like
And this is
there's
just
no
from the
child
parent
study
side.
because
This
I'm
is
not
just from
sure
the
of that.
parent side how it feels,
Yeah.
right? Is if my child changes schools, we struggle with finding a consistent step-by-step process in the district that everybody's following. Might it be tier 2 or 3 instruction? Might it be their child study referral process? It's just there's been such inconsistency, it feels like. So parents go into these conferences and they're reaching out to CPAC with, now we have great data, right? With the dibbles and there's the iReady and it's all consistent, the map testing. And then for the older kids, we've got MCAS, like there's ample, robust data, right? But still, what's the pre-referral process for regular ed? And what's that process like for us as parents?
But I even would
genuinely have
say,
no idea.
and now I'm like, oh my God, Rachel and I probably, Zora, are you teach at higher ed, right?
No, I do. I work for Keys to Literacy. I do professional development, all things literacy.
Oh, see, so experts right on the panel here. But I feel like Rachel and I should probably go for coffee and like talk about all these things, because like even the whole idea that pre-referral, like that the process is pre-referral, the process for child study or student assistance team or whatever it is to bring forth concerns from the teacher and or shared concerns from the teacher and the family to say, I've tried these 5 things. I need some more things to try, because the next day comes and kids should learn the next day.
Mhm.
So the outcome, I mean, let's be clear. I love special ed. I 30 years in, I love special ed, but all of us want our kids to not have to be special ed. I mean,
to receive everything that they need through tier 1 always.
Right? That's the ultimate goal. So the goal really isn't to get your kids into special ed. It's to get kids what they need to learn. So nobody should be writing a letter without expecting that the next day there's a child study ask, or it should have already been, because if the teacher's saying that, then they already knew. So that, because every teacher wants to do well by every student.
Absolutely.
And everything comes out of worry, but there should be, if there's not a clear process, then teachers can't follow it either. So that I have to check on. But the reality is that I want every referral, like that comes from parent conferences, and honestly, I haven't even gotten to that because the list is so long. The teacher needs to do SAT anyway.
Yeah. Yes.
Because the learning starts, like learning is happening those 45 days that an evaluation and IEP
Correct.
team and all that happens. So
Well, and under MTSS law, that is required to be going on as well.
Yeah.
So it's DCAP interventions. And I think for us,
Can I just stop the experts here? We're using a lot of acronyms that
Right,
families
sorry.
at home are going to watch this and they may not know what all these things are. Rich, do you want to just?
Yeah, multi-tiered support system is under Massachusetts law it's a required way of looking at how we support students in a tiered manner through regular education. And that all starts with our DCAP, so our district curriculum accommodation plan. And that's something that every district in Massachusetts must have for all students to have available. So these are accommodations that any kid can have. You do not need a disability. You do not need a 504. You do not need an IEP. And I know that's something with previous administration we were really working at focusing on and pushing out with school committee and stressing DCAP accommodations. Your child needs text to speech. Guess what? It's probably on the DCAP in a lot of districts. and revamping what that looks
Mhm.
like. But
Mhm.
these are all hand holding items that then came to like a grinding halt. And now here we are another school year, right? Post special education review. And I'm so happy that Lynn is willing to dive in and do these hard tasks, because I think there's a lot of things that previously checked the box for, oh yes, we have a pre-referral process. Check. If a student we have concerns about, I don't know, I think when we have parents emailing us as frequently as they are, this tells me it's not being communicated out, that this is not shared information. My kid had a parent teacher conference. It went horribly. I don't know what to do. They just told me how poorly they're doing, but didn't tell me what to do next.
Or he or she is really nice boy or girl.
Yeah.
And
But it didn't, but the data's not
their
good.
scores were really, really bad, and they just said, "Don't work. I don't know what." And then they come and say, "I don't know what to do."
Yeah.
So I think
This is something I really do feel like. So there was just a workshop that that Pam Lathrop and I think Lauren and Sasha, you heard about it at the school committee meeting. So Pam Lathrop and Juliette Darmon, the union president, went to together about sort of I'm paraphrasing now because I like to see the positives, but the positive and the power of like difficult conversations and conflict. And I think that without the confidence that I was talking about before, without the relational capital, hard conversations and real true conversations are not able to have to be had. And that is when you can have those hard conversations with love in your heart and purpose, and it really is then the mark of families and districts working together, because um, everybody is rowing in the direction of like kids being successful.
Mhm.
So it's just the concern around how to have those conversations in a meaningful, thoughtful, pragmatic, responsible way. So, so that's so clearly that's something to work on, because we just elicited a lot of like
Yeah.
good like conversation. Um, Other things that are happening, just so that you guys know, we just hired a dynamic duo for our vacancy in our Rise classroom at the middle school. We have a new special education teacher and a behavior specialist that have come on board the mid to end of October. So and they've moved since then. They've moved classrooms into the new wing. I was in to see them today, and I'm thrilled because they have incorporated some small group um, instruction around morning meeting, around some other pieces, as well as just like sort of that small group and one-to-one teaching through program books, etc. So that is super exciting. Um, I don't know if I've mentioned it to Sasha. Sometimes I just get excited and I start, um, spewing conversation. But Sasha and Lauren, I might have said this to you. In an effort to be creative and to be real about what we're doing for our kids and our transitional skills, I've reached out to Claudia Suhu, who is one of the executive, I don't even know her title anymore. I knew her back in the day when she was the aquatics director at Lawrence Y. And I've been connected with her ever since.
She's
And
a COO.
she's a COO. Thank you. Um, I reached out to Claudia and Christina Minacucci. Fun fact: Christina Minacucci and my sister were the first friends they ever had. They were born one day apart, and our mothers shared a hospital room. Um, so Christina, Claudia, and I met around real life and financially responsible resources to really build in some transitional skills for our kids in our sub-separate programs in middle school, high school, and then 18 to 22. And we are talking about using the bus line that, the MEVA line from the middle school to the Andover, North Andover Y. How can we incorporate real, like, actual community skills? We're talking about sort of just like where there's a place for the Y with our kids, because some of our kids, this is their community forever and forevermore. And the Y gives an opportunity for people of all ages to have a community. Even like my father-in-law is 83, and if I told him he couldn't go to Cedardale anymore, he would shrivel up and, die. So those are his people. That's the same about the Y. All ages, all colors, all backgrounds, all ability levels. That's a community built in. So we are talking about how we can utilize that in a better way. Claudia is super excited. I mean, the nice part is, as many of you know, both Claudia and Christina are North Andover residents. Claudia grew up in Andover, but I will give her that pass. But Christina, born and raised here. So, current residents looking to help us, I think, create experiences in a budget-friendly way. So I have my next meeting with them tomorrow. Actually, Lauren, I would love to talk to you maybe even tomorrow before I don't know, I didn't think of accessing you. We left our last meeting charged with trying to find some funding grant-wise, and I got down a rabbit hole in like the United Way, but then couldn't really land the plane about how to actually, who actually to ask about a potential grant that I thought maybe could work. And then there was another grant that I got in my head. Anyway, so I would love to talk to you about that. Claudia, there's an inclusive grant that they have through, or an inclusive budget line, something like that, through the Y that she was going to look at maybe accessing so that we can do programming during the day to really practice recreation and leisure skills. But we have to just pay for it in some way. So we're looking for those things. But I got sort of like roadblocks on my own roadblocks. Like I just couldn't find a way past them. So that's something that maybe we could talk about. Other news. Let me just think of other news. Other news. Oh my gosh. We had an applicant. We interviewed, I didn't do it, but the ABECC did it, and hired a new speech language pathologist by the grace of whatever, spirit is looking down upon us. And that person is starting the Monday after Thanksgiving, I think. So that is like,
congratulations.
I don't even know what to
really
say.
wonderful.
I'm like, yeah. So I will tell you that Pam Lathrop, I mean, I have a pretty good network. I do really have a pretty good network around like going through and thinking about people and like Pam Lathrop's network, and then Karen Bakovich. I'm like, you should be headhunters on your on your off hours, because I don't know. So that is so exciting. I can't even believe it. So we will be looking to sort of phase out, to the degree that we can, phase out our contracted service people there, because that is like triple net cost. So we're looking to phase that out as soon as we get a handle on, compensatory, all the stuff that we have to get a handle on. So that is super exciting. I feel like those are big wins, like the middle school rise and the speech language person. I will tell you that we have had an extreme amount of move-ins this year, very needy, complex, kiddos that need a lot that were not planned for because we didn't know they existed, which, we need to account for. So that We've had some move-ins to the RISE program at the Franklin School. We've had move-ins to ABECC. We have had move-ins to our therapeutic programs at the elementary level. So currently we have a therapeutic program at the Thompson and a therapeutic program at Kittredge. And we have, we've sort of divided and conquered. We've looked at kids' profiles, we've looked at matches, and we've, filtered them into the appropriate program. And so far, to be honest, it's gone really well. Our last student just started last week. So I'm happy about that. We have definitely had to be creative around staffing. We've looked to reallocate, and we are those two. We are doing that first. So I've gone into schools. I've looked at number of special education kids in each classroom, the number of TAs, the special education teachers, allocation to each grade level, need for pull out services versus need for push in. So we are looking at all of those things. So we also have some news around the 18.
Lynn, can I ask you a quick question? So fabulous news about the new hire. It's fantastic.
Yes.
But wondering about, should parents be reaching out about if there are any, if there were missed services about taking care of
Compensatory.
So I'm so glad you brought that topic up, because I don't know that parents truly understand the purpose around compensatory services. And if you talk with sort of and again, different perspectives are different realities, right? But if you talk with the attorneys that represent school districts, they will, guide us around compensatory. And that just because something is missed one time doesn't mean it's one for one.
No.
It doesn't mean that. So, as long as the services continue to be provided, and that is it perfect if somebody, we had somebody filling in who wasn't their teacher, but the services were provided. Do we love that? No, but we wouldn't look to do compensatory for those things. What our guidance is that, we want to make sure kids stay progressing. We don't want to see regression. And we especially don't want to see regression as a result of, missing teachers or a lack of services because we didn't have staffing. So most often we see those things around related services like speech, OT, PT, reading services, things like that. And what we want to see from our staff is that they have really good data to see, like, all right, so this happened. Like, for example, and I know that families have gotten a letter who have been impacted. Again, I was just on a real high about the ABECC, and now I'm going to just, burst my bubble. So one of our speech language pathologists from the ABECC, also just a different one, just went out on leave for a little bit. So we are still dealing with that, which is why I'm saying that we are not phasing out our contracted service people right away, because we have to make sure that we continue with that. If we know somebody's going out on leave, we want the information about where kids are, and we want to make sure that daily those services are covered. through planning, through coverage, through whatever. And we track to make sure, so through progress monitoring, data collection, that kids really aren't regressing or, you know, really falling in any way, shape, or form due to the service provider being absent or on leave. Compensatory, if we know or if we don't have a speech person for a long period of time. So like at this point, this is the ABECC, we are making up compensatory services for speech because we didn't have enough coverage for speech at the beginning of the school year, just because of the retirements and people leaving. So we tracked those and we've made those up. We have some parents across the district, which is where I think some of the lack of understanding. Some parents who are wondering about compensatory services for example, if their child is absent or the teacher is absent on like a Tuesday or a Thursday, or, if there was, say, a field trip. I don't even know if there are any field trips these days, but if there are any field trips and there were no services, then parents are asking about compensatory. But that is not something that we would look to do compensatory services about, because those are natural things that happen within the school day, the school week, the school month, the school year. So,
Lynn, thank you for explaining that. Just for very specific clarification, because again, our job is to support parents, and when they ask questions, have answers or find them the answers. So for this,
I also would say just the CPAC's job also is to be a liaison to the school district and to advise the school district. So really to create that bridge between families and the district.
Which leads me to, so what is our response to the families who have missed speech services from September till now?
So that
not one time, not two times. Who do they ask for that data, right? Because definitely the missed service data, that's not on parents to supply that data. So who do they ask for that data? Who do they contact that's collecting that data? And then the key terms of regression, recoupment. So did my child regress? Will they take longer to recoup their skills now? But also progress towards goals, because in reality, we've missed we've missed a quarter of consistent service, right? And so even though maybe a teacher pulled the child out for that 30 minutes, that's maybe not the SLP on their grid. So that's actually that's not a goal directed service. So who do our parents speak to about that, receiving that data? And how do they become an active team member in assessing if their child's actually going to meet their goal? Because we're coming up on that time.
Yeah.
So if you haven't had an SLP, I mean, let's be real, there's a lot of kids that aren't going to meet their goals.
Yeah. So the only place right now, unless there's something that I don't know about, which could be true, the only place right now that there should be any question about speech services is at the ABECC. Yes. And we have had, which I know that the families that were impacted got a letter. So we have had, again, like when your network is strong, we have a North Andover mom who runs a speech language agency, like a small private one. And I worked with her in Wakefield. And I said to her, could you help us? And could you give us a discount? Because either way, like if you charge us a lot, you're just gonna have to pay for it anyway in your taxes because you're a resident. So, and she laughed at me and said, sure. So we've had her on for a few weeks now. She's doing all the compensatory services. So
do parents know that though?
I believe they do know that, because I've been CC'd on the email that has gone home to parents. And I believe that I saw one about that.
Okay.
I'll double check, but I'm sorry, can we just walk for a minute? Because I have to let a dog out.
Yeah, of course.
Yes, no problem. We appreciate it. We're a little bit past our kind of our time for this
All right.
piece. I don't want to take up Lynn's whole night. So do we have any other kind of questions or things we need to touch on? I think
The only one thing I wanted to ask her is if there's any district changes or if parents need to know anything about the change in the graduation requirement based on releasing the MCAS graduation requirement for 10th grade. Is the district gonna let parents know of any changes, or is there anything?
So I would say that is probably a question bigger than me, just because
Yeah.
overall, but I guess it's something that we at the high school level, we could just incorporate in the team meetings. But beyond that, I'm not sure that there's like oh, did I read it in Pam's thing this week? I'll check on that.
Only because I know a lot of like that bulk transition planning, when I'm thinking about it for our secondary families, a lot of the EPPs, so that's an extra educational plan that if your child has not passed the MCAS and they're approaching graduation, an EEP is designed to help your child reach those goals in accordance with the MCAS graduation requirement. Do those go away? These are just, again, these are fallout questions from that proposition passing. And again, I'm not expecting you to have the answers. It's just something to put out on the table as team meetings are happening.
Okay. That's a good question.
And then how do we ensure, for our families that are looking at secondary planning, if this the graduation requirement is gone?
Yeah.
How are we ensuring? I was so happy to hear you talking about transition planning at the start of this, because that was one measure that assured high quality, rigorous standards and expectations for our students exiting. That was a measure, right?
Yeah.
That is scary for some of our families, that measure. It's scary for some of our families that students had to take it to pass, and scary for some of our families that their students no longer do.
Yeah. And I don't know.
Ensure?
Yeah. I'm not, to be honest, I mean, I'm not afraid that our students aren't getting, rigorous and appropriate education without the MCAS being a requirement. I was more concerned that with it as a requirement. I mean, I myself have had students who've met all the other requirements for graduation.
Oh, absolutely.
Even though, they have had pretty significant disabilities, and all, like, the high school diploma may have been the only diploma they would get.
Yes.
And that is concerning. Well, it was concerning for me. So I'm not concerned that they won't have rigorous, high quality instruction, especially, with the movement and the requirements around high quality instructional materials at this point. So I think we're okay there. I think really having the conversation about the understanding around what it means now. I also would love, and we could do it at a different time, I am engaging in conversation with about our 18 to 22 programming. We currently, for those of you who may not know, not you guys, but the greater community, we have a partner program with the Andover Public Schools. It's called TOP, Transitional Opportunity Program, or Transition Opportunity Program. And it's currently housed in Andover, across both the senior center, a couple classrooms there, and the Andover Youth Center facility. We are looking at some point next school year to bring that program back to North Andover. What exactly it will look like, not sure. When it exactly will come, I'm not sure, because I was hoping for September 2025, but we are looking at utilizing the previous senior center.
Great.
And the town is sort of rehabbing that and feeling like it won't be ready to roll until January 2026. So we're looking at that. But currently, and this is in my humble opinion, so this is nothing, I do not represent the district or anybody's feeling except for myself. in the fact that projected between the two towns, we are projected to have 45 students in September 2025 for 18 to 22 programming, which is somewhat of a disproportionate number,
Yeah.
in my humble opinion.
Yes.
There are reasons for that. And I feel like if we had a tighter path, you know, tighter opportunities and options for pathways to meet students' vision of students' vision, we could shift that number a little bit. So, because I think that students, again, humble opinion, I feel like if students have met all the graduation requirements, they should take their diploma, and we should do a really great job at connecting them with community partners to continue that transition journey. And I have some ideas about that. But so that is new news. We're working with the top staff.
Right.
Exciting. So
That's great.
yeah, we are also, just so that you know, we are engaged in some conversation about shifting our, and this is like at the very basic conversational level, around just identifying populations at the high school level around therapeutic programming, what our therapeutic programming looks like now, what our populations need, and what that programming needs to look like. So we'll see if any changes come out of that sort of analysis. I'm not sure, but we're looking at that. And a little sort of fun news, I think, although I had to bag out. I'm so sorry, Lauren. Karen Bakovich, Lauren Stedman, and I had plans to go to tour the Doyle Early Childhood Center in Wakefield, which I was part of establishing. And my very good friend and colleague is the principal and the team chair, who is also a North Andover resident. And I unfortunately had a funeral that day, so I couldn't go. But Lauren and Karen went, and I feel, I can speak about it anyway because I know it. But now Karen really would like to go and see other early childhood centers. So we have an appointment. I don't know if you saw the email, came in later tonight. We're going to see the Andover Shawsheen preschool. I've been in touch with my group, and I think Drake-It has some classrooms we can see. And Alice LeGrand, who was the assistant superintendent of student services at Wilmington, but she's now in Lowell. She said that Wilmington I asked for standalone preschools just because that's sort of more apples to apples. And so she said she'll connect me, but I'm going to see the Wilmington interim special ed director on Thursday, so I can ask Christine myself about going there. And I was also worked in Melrose. I'm going to reach out to Melrose. A colleague of mine is the interim principal there. And so we can see that as well.
Great. Thank you so much for letting us and Lauren, and letting us have that opportunity to look at that and kind of look at other preschools. I think it's wonderful. So we really appreciate it, and we'll certainly have Lauren report back so we can all learn about what you saw.
Awesome. One other little announcement I just want, because we are not, I want to just be open and honest always. Teachers, they have things that happen in their lives too. So there are times when people have to take a leave or maternity leave, or, leave because parents get sick or whatnot. So we do have an ABECC special ed teacher who had to go on family leave. I think that starts this week. And we are actively, like, the network book is out, like combing, looking. The position's been posted. So we are looking for someone. We have some leads. Thanks to Karen Bakovich and Pam. We do have some leads. We are thinking creatively within the district, pulling people, and just looking for somebody to cover that. Currently, the plan is for one of the TAs who is adept at knowing the kids and the structure, the routine, etc., to continue on with the lessons that are pre-planned from the teacher, with oversight from Karen Bakovich, who does have her special ed teaching license, and Mary Lou Connors. But the idea is that we're actively searching. So, I mean, we've called retired, people. We have done some other little searches, but if anyone who is a special education teacher looking to do some time, and it doesn't need to be the whole day, because we do have some parts covered. But let me know.
Great.
All right.
Thank you so much, Lynn. We really
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Bye.
We feel really grateful to have you. You can stay on or you can go. You also have things to do, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna go, but thank you. And this was great. And I will be in touch.
All right. It just one. Yeah.
Sorry, I did just so Meg, I forwarded I was out on Friday, so I did not do anything with any emails on Friday, but I forwarded the SEPAC merch to all the principals.
Great.
And the central office people. And Lauren, I forwarded that DDS flyer to the ETLs and the liaisons of like more program to ask to forward to staff, appropriate staff and families. And just to circle back, Rachel, to your question, like, who do people call? And I wrote down that I owe you a flow chart of like an org chart around like who to call for what. So I will get that. But they should always start with the ETL at the building, because that person is sort of the liaison and it takes the pressure off, and it, I think liaisons always want to do the right thing, say the right thing. And when asked from parents, sometimes anticipate that it's coming from a source of, challenge. And I think the ETLs are more regulated to be like, okay, this is like a business transaction. I got to get the actual number and I'm going to get it back to you. So I would always start with the ETLs. That's where I would start.
Great. Thank you.
And just one thing that I just wanted to put on your radar, Lynn, is that I think we've had some feedback that any families that are either have chosen to take their children out of district, but maybe have IEPs with the district, or that have been placed out of district in conjunction with with North Andover, they don't get emails. So like some of these resources are really helpful for all families, and they don't receive emails from the district. We've communicated that a bunch, but just probably not to you yet.
Yeah.
And that doesn't seem to change.
So I wonder, I mean, that's not okay, but I also wonder that it's an internal problem.
I'm sure it's an email listserv thing.
Yeah, because it's about claiming kids, I'm sure. And then like, of course, all the data systems aren't the same data system. And so it's a problem. Okay. Yeah. I want to also say right up front, I am sure it's also a problem for our 18 to 22 families, because, and I'm just going to go, I mean, I already said that this is a problem and I need to fix it. I just haven't figured out how to fix it yet. That only one district can claim students. So Andover claims the top students, which means we don't have them in our data system, which means we can't access them through any type of listserv like that. Mm-hmm. So that, I know why that is a problem. The out of district students, not sure. So Now, okay, would be the same for kids. Like you're talking about students, like if kids are
At St. Michael's, but have an IEP in North Andover,
mhm,
for example.
yes, because they wouldn't be in our power school.
Right.
They're in EastBed. EastBed isn't the data system in which the listservs are, like whatever we have, like Connected or Black. I don't know what we have here, but
Right.
whatever we have for the mass mailing. The EastBed isn't the database that we take that from. So how can we get them?
And like one of the other things perhaps I was also thinking about, because we can't, obviously you can't give us names, right? And but we would love to create our own listserv as well, because then we just have our own, right? So all of these people could join the CPAC email list. If we could potentially send a sign up to all of your listservs and they can sign up for ours, then they're going to get all of our informational stuff.
What if we did it only because parents get really confused? Like sometimes when something is sent to them, like they think they need to do something about it. Like, for example, in my last district, one of the admin assistants mistakenly sent the yearly procedural safeguards to the whole district instead of just the special education like sort of lists. And parents were like, what am I supposed to do with this? Does this mean I'm supposed to do something?
Right.
So I wonder if, like, a very simple first step, is there like some kind of informational flyer that we can send when we send out an IEP?
Yeah, we have one. We actually made a CPAC flyer that was supposed to be, we gave to the district to hand out at every meeting. And that never, we provided it. And I don't think that ever got done. So
Okay.
we can revamp that and we can take a look at it again and send it to you again.
Yeah. Okay. Doesn't get email. Hi.
And then maybe what we do is we can send like a new year, like Happy New Year CPAC something flyer, and then we can have them sign up for an option to sign up to be on our list.
You know what we could do though? I'm going to tell you, there is a way. I mean, I don't know how to do it, but there is a way that I could have Stacy Pisano, my admin assistant, send a mass message to all of the special education families with CPAC information.
Yes.
So Lynn, when do you send out your N1s at the beginning of your year? Your procedural safeguards to the whole district? What's your date?
I can't remember, but we did
It's like mid-September, right? Mid or end?
Yeah. I mean, yes.
I don't know that it can go as an enclosure with that.
Right. But then you're only getting people who are eligible at that, like are in special ed then. Anybody who's an initial, okay.
But then it would go out with your procedural safeguards with the initial eval.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think if we think of it as important information, right?
Yeah.
As critical information, that the most critical information is a parent's procedural safeguards. And that's what the state says we have to issue to parents. It's their mini Bible, right? It's their rights and procedures. So for us as parents, along with that, I would love okay, this is the technical stuff. Where's my community? Yeah. So if we think of those two things as intertwined, just every time an N1 goes out, then this goes out from the district. And that doesn't mean from liaisons and team chairs, because good luck managing that. But every time the district sends out procedural safeguards, also could send out the CPAC informational flyer.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I think I misheard you, Sasha, when you asked me, could we send it to wherever? In my head, I envisioned it being like to the whole district, but no, we could do definitely a listserv for just special ed for this year. Yeah. And then we can do it going forward.
Perfect.
In that way. Yep.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Lynn. We really appreciate it.
All right.
All right. Have a great night.
You too. Bye.
Okay, I think that we could probably go relatively quickly. So let's move to old business. Approval of meeting minutes from May 13th, 2024. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
No opposition. The minutes are approved. I don't think we have any other old business. Let's go into new business. Treasurer's update. I don't know that there's anything to update.
No, it's just the same as from the other night. Do you want me to pull that up? Hold on.
No, it's okay.
See,
So
now I'm
there's
kicked
like
out of that email, so I don't have access to it. But yeah, we've had some, we did some reimbursements. We have some more reimbursements to go. So fundraising will be important. So it's a good thing we have fundraising coming up.
right. So we have like $18,000 $1,800.
That was a lot of money.
I wish we had $18,000.
like, we do?
Make life a lot easier. It's late. So about $1,800 in our big account. We have active fundraising efforts. This is a plea for everyone to please buy our awesome, wonderful CPAC merch. 25% of profits go back to CPAC from Be Designed. Rachel Bedard's amazing and such an amazing community partner. We think she's phenomenal. So would really appreciate any purchases of merch. We will also be having a fundraiser in partnership with Stachys on the 18th, Tuesday, November 18th. We will be right? Is that the right date? Please confirm.
I thought it was the
19th. Tuesday the 19th. The 18th, excuse me, is a presentation Lauren can talk about in a little bit. So we have a CPAC Awareness Day is actually this Friday, the 15th. So it's going to kick off our CPAC Awareness Week. Then on Monday, we're going to have a presentation about DDS. And so Lauren can talk about that. On Tuesday, the 19th, we're going to have a fundraiser with Stachys. And then we are going to have a Wear Yellow Day. So everyone wear your yellow or CPAC gear on Friday, the 22nd.
And really quick for Stachys, 4 to 9 p.m. And you have to have the paper flyer. So we have to get that out into the schools
right away.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. School liaison updates. So we can skip this. Just know, Lauren, Sheena, and I are going to circle up on this and talk about, who were the previous liaisons. Are they still interested in being our liaisons? What does that role mean? I think Sheena's graciously and amazingly offered to kind of work on that with and for us. And we'll go from there. Lauren, do you want to talk about Special Olympics?
Yep. So
Or
Zora and I are co-chairs along with Andover, two lovely ladies, Karen and Dulce from the Andover SEPAC, are co-chairing with us to host the Special Olympics for June 2025. This year will be at Andover. And to be honest, we're already off to a great start. Kara Higgins was kind enough to leave us with a structured outline of step-by-step. So we are actively moving. The fields are reserved and all things are in motion. We will meet again December 4th, the 4 co-chairs.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. So just back to the next item, fundraising efforts and planning. So we have a very long list, if you watched our presentation to the school committee last week, of programming. We would love to hear from families on any programming that you're interested in or feel like you need support in. We also are planning, just like we talked about our fundraiser in November. I'd love to just briefly talk with the board. I know Lauren and I had mentioned it, doing a fundraiser for stackable bracelets right before the holidays, thinking that might be a really good option. People might love that for stocking stuffers or other Christmas presents. Or any other holiday presents. Just wondering how everyone else feels about that. Your thoughts?
I think it's great. I mean, I'm not the most robust one in the fundraising department, but I trust if that's something you guys have looked into, and I think it's a great option. I would love that.
Okay. So I think that we'll try to execute that for the holiday season. We'll do our best. I think the bigger item is that we are waiting to meet with town council as well as the town accountant regarding CPAC's ability to fundraise virtually. So it has come to our attention Kyle in the town accountant has been a phenomenal partner over the last month and has told us that the school district actually has Square and they're working on having a sub account for CPAC to use Square. That will make our fundraising efforts significantly easier. We're hoping to execute that as fast as possible. We also are going to work with town council on kind of what municipal finance laws are applicable and move forward in a positive direction. Anything else for fundraising efforts and planning? And then the next item was 2025 presentation topics. I think we also covered that unless anyone else has any questions or.
I'm just going to hit on Chris.
Oh, yes, please.
I'll just talk about Chris here and kind of what we have for upcoming from DDS Northeast ARC. So on Monday, November 18th, Chris Marchese, who is the really amazing dual role between DDS and Northeast ARC. He's the community resource specialist. So when you talk about programming and events and all the things that we look for with outreach to our families and how families can get involved and what is available to them, especially with the new opening of the Merrimack Valley Family Welcome Center, transition planning and those resources as well. I mean, there's a plethora of things. Chris is a wealth of knowledge. So I highly, highly encourage all families. Doesn't matter if you have a 3-year-old or if you have an 18-year-old, he is a wonderful resource and he's giving us a full hour of his time to present and also ask questions to. And the really beautiful thing is we'll build off of that in January. So January 27th, it's a Monday from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. Andrea Morris, who is the director of the Family Support Center for DDS and co-thing with the ARC, she really is going to dive deep into those questions that we get a lot from families about insurance coverage, referrals, IEP consult, advocacy. I mean, she, again, has been doing this for over a decade. She has a lot of experience in transition planning. Again, transition planning, just because we have 3 or 4-year-olds, this is the perfect time to hop on and really get aware and start asking the questions about what you need to know to sit at the table. And a lot of things, again, around resources, financial supports, DDS, and things like that are there for a lot of our students to take advantage of for their families. So a great couple series. Yeah.
Sorry, will you just repeat that date? That was January what?
27th. It's
Thank you.
Monday. Yeah, no problem.
And so we have Chris coming on November 18th, so this coming Monday, and then we have another presentation on the 27th. And just to kind of light a bit of a fire, Lauren, could you just tell everyone the average wait if you're going to apply for services right now with DDS?
So DDS is looking at about a year now wait list once you submit your application for DDS eligibility, which you need to make sure, as kind of a disclaimer, there's 2 different types of applications. One is for 4 years and younger, and one is for over the age of 5. I encourage all parents out there who may be DDS eligible, and you can look on the DDS website. It's very kind of clear cut what the criteria is. To apply, the younger they are, the less paperwork you have to send in, because they want to see the evaluations, they want to see the diagnosis paperwork. And this really is a department that is with you through the life of the child. So from the time that you are accepted in all the way through when you're out of the public school setting, and we're talking about some of these life and functional skills and where's their community post high school, this is where DDS is there to really be that olive branch to the family and to the community. So a great, great, great partner to have and get involved with. And again, financial and therapeutic strategies to share. I mean, we need more and more of those resources.
Thank you so much for coordinating this. We really appreciate it. Really, really tremendous opportunity for our family. So thank you. Anything else under new business? All right, so we'll move on to the president's report. I just wanted to say thank you to the school committee for having us last week. It was a great presentation. I also want to encourage everyone to start to follow along with ACE. So the school committee has created an advisory committee to the school committee for special education in the district. This committee has a pretty substantial charge, and that they are going to be looking at special education in the district in its entirety, as well as its intersection with general education. In my opinion, this is an opportunity for us as community members to shape how special education and frankly general education works in this district for many years to come. And I encourage all families and community members to get involved. So either, say, hey, I fit one of these criteria. I want to be on the committee and volunteer. Or two, I have this very specific skill set or set of interests I want to look at. Can you tag me in later? Or three, I'm just an interested parent. I don't have the capacity or time right now to volunteer, but I'd really like to follow along and provide input based on my experience. All of those things are really valuable. We will certainly have SEPAC members on that committee, and we are really excited for it and look forward to continuing to work for the district. So that's all I have. Any other public comment? Hearing none.
Sorry, really quick, just
Yes,
another
please.
plug, doing another round of new IEP. Next Thursday, we had like 60 people, I think, at the last one. I know people are having their annual review meetings, their 3-year meetings. Come, even if you came to the first one, I recommend coming again, because again, the more you hear the new IEP language, the more you sit with it, the more you work with it, the more you can digest it. So even as an educator myself, the more I'm actually doing it, the more comfortable I'm getting. The student voice and participation portion has been outstanding. As somebody on the other side of the table in education, really drawing in my students, really getting their voice, inviting them to their meetings. And I actually had one participate last week at a very young age in a very meaningful way. It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal for him. It was phenomenal for the parents. It was great. It was such a focused, wonderful, appropriate stepping stone for this student in 4th grade to start, really participating in his own education. So I encourage, even if you came to the first one, to please come again, because it's so critical now that everybody has the same information and can participate in their child's IEP meeting.
Awesome. And Rachel, that's next Thursday. What's the date?
That is the 21st, correct?
Yes. I'm
Wow.
sorry. When I gave my week rundown, I did not include that date.
No, it's okay. It's the 21st.
We have a very big week. So
We
we have this Friday. I'm going to say it one more time for just to be clear. So this Friday is CPAC Awareness Day. This is a day that was proclaimed by the select board. We have a legit proclamation because November is CPAC Awareness Month at a state level. That's going to kick off our Friday to Friday week of CPAC. So that Monday, the 18th, we have presentation from DDS. Tuesday, we have our fundraiser with Stachys. Thank you so much to Stachys. We appreciate it immensely. Thursday, Rachel is doing a second run of her new IEP presentation, which is incredibly informative. And then Friday, your kids should wear yellow or their CPAC gear to school for CPAC awareness. And in the interim, please buy all of the CPAC merch from Be Designed. Rachel Bedard, our community partner, is phenomenal and is donating 25% of profits to CPAC. We are eternally grateful. I think that is it. Yeah? All right. Thank you, everyone. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor? All right. The meeting is
Yes.
adjourned. Thank you so much.